Hey guys, this is Kami Ken, and it's time to talk about it. It's time to talk about that Jim Lee article. And the manga versus comics debate is not as simple as people make it out to be. There's so many factors that are involved in the dynamics of the business structures between both those industries that it's not something you can pinpoint on any one factor, and you can't point the blame really at any specific person or type of people. So let's get into it. There are a few things that I want to cover in the video specifically, and one thing I'll start with is that it is not what you think that is the fault of America's failure to really win in the comics market. It is not the quote-unquote political activists, or it is not necessarily all of that stuff that's going on in the industry since 2015. That is definitely part of the decline, and probably a part of the majority of the decline since that time period, which allowed for manga to really come in and gain that solid foothold, because we were failing so much on that end that manga was able to come in and then be like, hey, we're just trying to tell you entertaining stories. Here you go. But manga was always a really strong presence when I was growing up. And I've seen a video by Matt where he explained how difficult it was to get it over to the States, starting from the 80s to the 90s, up until the 2000s. But when I was growing up, manga was still coming in strong. Like it was still a kind of a niche thing to be, a fan of, but I've always been around it. And reading various manga, reading various comics, I see the differences in what makes people want to read manga over comics, and why that is starting to become more and more prevalent in this day and age, where anime is starting to boom and make anime and manga more of a household name in the industry. So I have my notes written down here, and let's get into it. So one of the reasons that manga outsells comics in the US is that the readership and the culture is just so much stronger in Japan that we don't even have a clue, to be honest. It is so much ingrained into the culture of reading in Japan that an adult could be reading a manga on a subway and it would be totally normal. They could be reading a seinen manga or whatever. They could be reading Berserk, just like flipping through Berserk on their phone, or on like reading it on paper back in those days. Like that is such a normal part of their culture that you can sell copyrighted characters, like fanzines of your favorite manga at a convention, and those people make more money than the original creators of that thing, because they allow people to sell copyrighted works in Japan because it just gets the word about their manga out there more. And people can get obsessive over specific characters. Like they can fall in love for real with specific characters, and they have body pillows made out of their favorite female characters, and all that stuff is part of that culture in Japan. They're obsessive with it. If you make a solid enough manga or a solid enough story, like it blows up. Like if you create a solid enough IP, it can blow up with the anime, video games, with phone games, with merch, all that stuff. It can blow up. And the readership is obsessed. So over here in America, it's not as wild. Like people aren't as obsessive, or at least people that I know. Like most fans of manga or anime and that kind of thing, they're casual fans. And then what they're doing is like they'll buy JJK or Demon Slayer or Chainsaw Man or whatever for their friends or their kids or whatever, because they've seen it out and about, they've seen it in a movie or wherever, And they're just like, oh, there's a comic based on it. Oh, it's in Target. Okay, cool. It's easy to buy them. And then manga is so widespread in Japan, like it's just easy to find anywhere. Whereas in America, it's is contained to stores, like contained to very niche fan stores where you go in specifically to buy comics. It's not gonna be something you find easily at Walmart, and you can just jump in and buy comics from Walmart. Second thing is the anime for manga spreads it like wildfire. It gives it worldwide notoriety, because a manga that is proven itself in Japan usually has something about it that extends to the rest of humanity, where humanity or the rest of the world can relate to the characters in the story. And then the story itself is so simply drawn to where people can easily attach themselves to the characters because they're not overly complex. They don't look too much like humans. And this is something that manga understands really well. Like, they draw their characters simply so that a broad number of people can either project themselves onto it or relate to the characters in it. And the fact that they have to put this out on either a weekly or a monthly basis, they have to draw it quickly, only adds to that fact because they need to be able to draw the characters' faces quickly. They can't draw the most realistic thing all the time, because that would take up time. That used to be more of a style thing back in the earlier days, like with Fist of the North Star or Berserk. But these days, most manga is definitely more heavily stylized, which is why people tend to gravitate more towards it. And then the infrastructure is built to handle the huge amounts of content that come out of the industry, the manga industry. Like, it is built to create that amount of content, and it's built to create a high amount of quality content. The very fact that you can get an anime and get movie deals, get video game deals, have your entire story blow up and go worldwide if you put in the time and the hours to get good at writing and drawing, is one of the main factors that pushes people to go as hard as they do in manga, to the point where they're willing to sacrifice their entire youth to throw their hat in the ring and see if they can actually make it to the levels that your Naruto or your Dragon Balls have gotten to. Like, they're willing to sacrifice everything just for the chance at getting to the level that those other creations have reached. And America just doesn't have that same level of infrastructure built to handle that. Because in Japan, when you're a manga creator and you're working for a company, the editor is there on your side to help you create the highest quality, most sellable story that you possibly can make. They're there to help you mediate between other creators, other people that can help you create your story better. They're there to remove all the obstacles in your way that stop you from making your manga as good as it can be. Especially if you are a rising star or a rising talent, they're going to help you as much as possible to nurture your talent, nurture your skills. And you can go and work under another mangaka as an assistant and build up your skills and all that stuff. All that is built into the infrastructure of their industry to allow creators to really develop their skills. And then the editors are there to remove all obstacles in the way of the creator so that they can create the highest quality work that they possibly can in the industry. Like, they're not working. It's very, very unlikely that they're going to be working a day job or they're going to be doing something else that takes time away from making their manga as high quality as possible. They're only working on that manga. And if they're a moneymaker, or if they're able to start getting some buzz or some sales, like they're gonna be focused 100% on that. It's not gonna be like it is in America, where even if you're a top selling creator in America, not counting like Scholastic and all them, they are in a different, like they're in traditional publishing. I'm talking about in comics publishing over here, where you're doing the top sales on indie comics or whatever. You still have to do everything. You still have to sell your own work. You still have to work your day job. Like you might not even be, even if you're published with a Dark Horse or something like that, you might not even be making enough or selling enough to actually make a full-time living off of it. You have to do you have to sell yourself. You have to do a whole bunch of other things to actually put your comic and your work out there. And you can't just sit on your hands and let the company do it. Whereas in Japan, they have that, where Shonen Jump will market and sell your stuff for you. Like they'll make little animation reels of your thing where they'll be like, hey, look at this comic, check it out, it's gonna be cool. Or they'll sign the deals for you to get an anime with the studio, and then that anime blows up your manga, and now everybody in the world knows about your story. Like we just don't have that in America, and nobody in America feels that same they don't feel that incentive. They don't feel as compelled to succeed over here, because there's no chance that we're gonna create our own original idea. There's a very, very little chance that we're gonna create our own original idea, get a really cool anime made out of it, have it blow up to be this major franchise that is able to retire us, our parents, that kind of thing. We're not building generational wealth off of making comics in America usually. Some people are able to do that, but it's very, very few. And in Japan, it's such a competitive atmosphere to create the best, highest quality thing at the most quantity, because there's a chance that you can do that. That's why it's so competitive. That's why they're able to come up with such high quality stuff, because there's the small, minute chance that you might be able to rise to the top and get everything you ever wanted out of creating your own IP. And that's another thing. They create new IPs every single time. Like they're creating new ideas. Even if it might be new ideas within the same genre, like subgenre, like isekai. They're still creating new ideas. There's only very few comics that are, or manga in Japan, that are being continued by, let's say, the different creative teams the same way that they're doing it in America. Like you can have that for Pokemon or Beyblade, or these IPs that are based on toys or things for children, that you can go to different creative teams, have them create something based on that IP so that it can continue going, like Yu-Gi-Oh or Dragon Ball Super as it's going on right now, or even Boruto as it's going on right now. So like there's very few properties in Japan that are created by different creative teams that continue on past what we know from the original creator. So the places where America fails is that, yeah, we just don't have the same infrastructure. And what I thought actually going into comics was that I would have, let's say if I was doing my own comic, I would at least have an editor. Let's say if I was trying to get into Image Comics, I would have an editor. There would be a clear path to get inside, and then clear gateways to go past to succeed in getting into Image Comics. Then the editor would basically take me under their wing, show me what I could do to my story to make it more sellable, more marketable, that kind of thing. And then the company would then take my work, promote it, sell it, and try to get it out there. And if it made sales, then I would just be working full time. They would be giving me the majority of the money, but that's not how it works at all. Like even if you were to succeed in Image Comics, you would still have to do the majority of the promotion yourself if you're not a top selling comic. Like, they're gonna be selling Invincible forever. They're gonna be selling Saga forever. They're gonna be selling The Walking Dead forever because they have already proven themselves as IP. Whereas, like, if you're a newbie, you're most likely not getting in the door because you're not the people that have already proven themselves in other areas of the industry. You have to prove yourself from nothing, from zero. And that is what I thought, like, going into comics. The creative teams in comics, they can't run a single comic story for long enough to even like survive. If a comic is good and then it starts to sell, maybe that would be enough for the creative team to stick together long enough to make a long enough story. But a long enough story would mean like something like 60 issues or more, to where it's a long enough story to where people are reading it and like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying it. But if the story falters or falls off in any way, then there's really no cancellation mechanism like in Shonen Jump, where they see the sales dip and then they're like, okay, you're gonna have to wrap it up in a few chapters. Like, there's no cancellation mechanism like they have in Shonen Jump. In American comics, it seems like creative teams can't get together for long enough to create a long-running comic that is also high quality enough to eventually get some type of animation or build a large fan base. Like, it's too hard to keep them together because there's not enough resources to even make their money back after they sell the comic. So a lot of people have to work solo like me, or work with one or two other people and keep it at that and not go too far, because then if you're spreading the money between so many people, then it's like, okay, how is this gonna work? And yeah, like I said before, there's very little obvious incentive in succeeding in comics. Like, even if you succeed here, it's not there's not a high chance like it's gonna blow up like a worldwide success in Japan or something like that. You're not gonna have the same blow up or the same worldwide success as a Japanese manga would have. And that's why so many Americans are trying to get into Japan and succeed in a foreign land where they're trying to beat the native people there at their own game, because they're like, if there's a chance, I'm gonna try to find a way to make a manga in Japan. And there's only very few creators who I know who have the skill on the level on par with the Japanese creators that can possibly make it. There's Young Wavy, there's DD Mark. It's very, very few. I don't even know who else I can name off the top of my head, but it's very hard and it's very risky to actually try to make it over there in Japan. But people just don't see as much hope of making it in comics over here in America, because there's just not as much reward to it if you win, if you succeed. Like, it's so hard to just make a full-time living that in itself is reward enough. At least that's what it would be for me. That's reward enough to just be able to make a full-time living over here. And another thing, like, the style doesn't appeal as easily to younger audiences. Like, the little kids can't copy Superman, or they can't copy Jim Lee's style. Like, they can't copy Jason Fabok's style. They can't copy the very detailed awesome style of like Joe Madureira or whatever. Like, they can't draw it very easily, but they can draw Batman easily. Like, they can draw the symbols and the icons very easily, like Spider-Man, Batman, or maybe Superman. But because they draw like very complicated or complex style that looks pretty realistic to like human faces and that kind of thing, kids have a hard time drawing them. They don't feel like it's as approachable, and then they just don't feel like they can relate to those characters as much. And that's part of why I didn't get into comics for a very long time, because I was just like, oh, comics must be for adults because all the characters in these comic books are adults, and I don't feel like I can relate to them as much as I can with Naruto or a Luffy, or characters that are closer to my age and size and weight. I felt at that time like I could relate to them more. Whereas when I got older, I started getting more into Ultimate Spider-Man, right at the point where Peter Parker, quote unquote, died in the end of that run, and then Miles Morales took over from there. Like that's where I jumped onto that story, and that was because I could relate more to the characters' ages at the time. So younger readers can easily copy, they can easily draw Goku, or they can easily draw Naruto, because they're simpler characters to draw, and the style is the character. Like it's inseparable from the character. Whereas you can't draw Batman or Superman in Akira Toriyama style and it would be the same character. It would just be kind of weird looking. Like it just wouldn't be correct. But if you draw Goku like a cartoon, like a Peanuts character, like it's simple, it's easy. It's like, oh yeah, just get the hair right and then you're good. And in Naruto, easy spiky hair. Gon Freaks from Hunter x Hunter, easy spiky hair. Like you just have to figure out the pattern and then you're good. And so then when America tries to copy the success of manga, they really tend to only copy the surface elements of their work. Like they copy the style of the characters and it looks weird and wonky. Then they copy the form factor and the size of their books. And if it's the same content in the comic, and it's the content nobody's reading to begin with, then it doesn't matter what size you put it at. It's just like the same thing. So it's like whatever. But there are still like really great comics out there. I'm not saying that they're bad comics, but I'm saying like the form factor is not what matters when it comes to like making it more accessible to a larger readership, because right now comics is mainly aimed towards an older readership, and I'll probably get into that more in a later video. But for now, I think it's that America or American companies in comics ignore what actually makes manga work, and that is the sheer amount of quality and quantity that they are putting out of their content. Like they ignore that the fact that it's numbers and quality and hard work and talent that is keeping the manga industry up, because there's such a high quality incentive for when they succeed. Whereas for American comics, it's not as clear what the incentive for succeeding in American comics is, so people don't feel as compelled to really put their A game in that thing. I just want to put my A game because it's just built in me. Like that's what I want to do. But I'm talking more about like newer creators who want to get into the American comic industry but don't really see a clear path forward to the top. Like they don't see am I going to be able to like what is it going to look like when I succeed? Versus in manga, it's very clear what it looks like when you succeed. It looks like misery and also riches. So, I mean, it's like pick your poison in that case. And yeah, not to mention, like, on the point of the form factor and the style, is that manga is drawn in black and white. So it's going to be a higher production speed because they don't have as many elements to keep up with. They're just doing it in black and white. They have their assistants, and then they put it out there. They can put it out there for quick and cheap, and they can print it out quickly and cheaply because it doesn't require color printing. Like it doesn't require all these like high level things to produce the work. So having it in black and white increases speed and it decreases production cost. And so far, I think the only one who I've really seen understand the assignment in comics is Robert Kirkman with Invincible and Walking Dead. Like, he did it twice, where he understood that comics is really just soap opera for guys. Like, he understood, like, okay, we just need one character, we need a strong solid IP idea so that we can keep it running for long enough to where readers get invested in the lives of the characters, in what's going on dramatically, what's going on action-wise, so that they can finish the story with one character and give the readers the closure that they want. So the way he perfected the formula was just by doing one long-form story that stuck with one character, one coherent storyline, until the story was done. And he did it at a high enough quality that kept readers engaged until the end of the story, so that they didn't drop off at some point and were like, all right, I'm dropping this series, I'm not reading. Invincible was high quality for long enough to keep readers invested until the end. Walking Dead was high quality enough to keep readers invested until the end. So both Walking Dead got a long-running TV show, and then Invincible now has an animation based on the manga that they created. And look at this thing. This is only volume 2. This is volume 2 of all the material they got, and I consider it the best volume because it's got the conquest fight in it. It is so, like, it's so big, it's so amazing, like, it's so bombastic. It's got everything you would want in a manga series, but it's done with superheroes, and it's done as an original IP. And he did it right. Like, he really did it right. And I'm just like, yeah, this is what we want out of manga. This is what we want out of American comics in general. It's just one coherent storyline that's easy to understand, and it's drawn simply. That's one of those things that's really important too, is like that it's easy to understand. That's one of the things that they focus on in manga exclusively. And so to conclude, the comics of old had an infrastructure there to uphold them. There was a long-running series of X-Men comics, of Spider-Man comics, of Batman, Superman comics, where it was just giving you something new to engage with every month. Going into the future, I think they didn't get used to the fact that they had to now compete with video games, movies, TV shows, all these things for attention. And so they kept doing the same things in general, but they didn't really adapt to the times, whereas manga has adapted to the times. Manhwa has adapted to the times by even faster than manga, by making it accessible, easily accessible on your phone, and giving you the types of stories that you can't get in video games, you can't get in movies or TV shows. When you do comics that are comics that you can't get anywhere else in any other form, then you really succeed, because you're giving the reader an experience that they can only get from you. And I think the way forward for American comics is for creators like me and like you to make what we always wanted to see comics make, but never had. And to find a way to make them at such a level of quality that they can match what is being put out in Japan or being put out in mainstream comics. Because I think the quality is important, and the quantity is also important once you have the infrastructure down. So that I can only focus on that on my end as a webcomic creator. I'm making a traditional webcomic called Saintly. It is a demon chase horror action comedy about two best friends who have to outrun the demon loan sharks that they borrowed from. Basically, it's like Scooby-Doo meets K-pop Demon Hunters without the K-pop. And the story backs the main character into a corner where she has to decide between the hard path to success or lose her soul to the lure of easy money. And we get to see the ramifications of her choice, and if she can hide this deal with the devil from her friend, or if it will tear them apart. And I hope you read my comic in the description and check out the story. It should appear in your email inbox or your spam folder if you don't see it. And that comic is my way of creating the type of comic that I wanted to see as a kid, and that I would have been overjoyed to find this hidden gem of a comic for free to read on the internet. And then when I got older and had money, could buy it in person and have a copy for myself to hold. So that is what I'm trying to create by making webcomics now. And I hope you check them out in the future, and also in the link in the description. And please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.